Now, did you know that there are small differences between men and women's hearts? Now, Graham is in the lounge now with Professor Pamela Naidu to find out how this is possible and how we should be looking after this very precious organ in our bodies.
During the last few months, we've been discussing different aspects of heart health, and today we continue that discussion with a focus on the difference between men and women, he says with a wry smile. Now, did you know that up to 80% of heart disease and strokes can be prevented through healthier eating? So having a bowl of jungle oats in the morning is a great idea, made from 100% whole grain pure oats, high in fiber, low in GI, and assists in heart wellness. Back in studio to give us more insight into heart health is Professor Pamela Naidu of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of South Africa. Pam, great to have you back.
Thank you.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That should be enough to go on from now. But I think it's worth noting that we do have very particular health risks, as much as there is an overlap. When it comes to heart health specifically, what is the key difference between men and women?
So the recent evidence tells us that actually the risk is the same, really. But if you have to break that down, so if you have an unhealthy lifestyle, your risk is the same.
The causes are the same,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. But if you have to look at different sort of phases of a man's life and a woman's life, so for example, your more risky periods would be during perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. But added to that, women seem to be in South Africa at an increased risk of being overweight and obese. And I think that if you look at South Africa, that kind of puts them more at risk in a way. And then, of course, combined with increased levels of stress and bad eating habits and inactivity, then it just simply kind of trebles and quadruples your risk.
Exponentially so.
Yeah.
This is something that we've spoken a lot about.
Yeah.
And I suppose then the nuance might come in with symptoms and how we exhibit that stress or the bad health in general when it becomes critical. Do men and women exhibit differently, or are the symptoms different?
That's actually a really good question. And I think that is where you hit the nail on the head, because what we often find is not only for cardiovascular conditions like heart disease and stroke, but women tend to seek health care more than men do.
Because we don't need it.
Because, exactly. So the kind of the macho side of the male sort of psyche. So a man would have these chest pains and sort of say, well, you know, maybe it's not so serious, and so hence he would probably die of a heart attack, you know, without sort of realizing how serious it is.
Not to get severe or anything.
But what women would go and have themselves checked, you know.
And a possibility of understanding or maybe knowing your body or being a bit more in tune with your body.
Yeah.
That's been a certain kind of a wake-up call for me. Doing, you know, it sounds silly, doing things like martial arts or being very active and injuring myself all the time. I've now learned about my body in a way that seems to not be the norm, which is crazy to me. A big question, and maybe there's no simple answer, men or women, when it comes to risk of heart attack, is it a simple answer?
It's not a simple answer, because I think that there was a time. So I would say over the decades, the whole pattern has changed. Yes, there was a point where men were more at risk for heart attacks. But now I think the risk is kind of almost, once you hit 45, you should really start worrying about your heart health and your brain health, of course, for stroke, because, you know, one kind of is a risk for the other.
So is that the age that we should really be worrying about, or is that risk getting younger, that kind of zone, that danger area getting younger and younger?
So I would say previously it would be around 50 and over. Now it's kind of shifted down. So, you know, if you've kind of faced with a lot more stresses and an overall unhealthy lifestyle, then that is going to start at 40. But at 45, you should have more medical checks. You should ensure, you know, your blood pressure is normal. And really, it is about mind-body as well, you know, that kind of synergy. You can't underestimate that.
I'm going to put this question to you. Instead of saying, as I normally said, well, what can we do to prevent this? How can we go back and reverse possibly the effects of ill health? Can we do that? Because at 40, 45, old dog, how do we institute new tricks?
You can. And so I think the way to do it is to do it systematically. So if you consult your medical practitioner, you know, I can just tell you very quickly to consider what's the highest risk factor. So if you have an unhealthy lifestyle by not eating well and being inactive and have a lot of stress, and you smoke tobacco, you know, so then you start to you kind of go through the motions of trying one at a time. So it's kind of like behavior modification. But I would say of that list, you should cut out the tobacco and then start to work on the other factors.
I don't know if I'm feeling more nervous or less nervous after that chat, but thank you so much. A wealth of knowledge, and I think so important that we empower ourselves with knowledge. I think the message is clear. It doesn't matter what age you are or whether you're male or female, the responsibility to look after your heart health starts with you. And like we've said before, it's a lot easier than you think. And if you need a helping hand, go to the Heart and Stroke Foundation website for dietary guidelines and advice on healthy living.
South Africa's original oat champion now has a range of nutritious, delicious muesli. New Jungle Muesli, available in an exciting variety of flavors.